Hello, everybody. Welcome to, right, I'll get this right. This is the third show we've done this year. I thought we'd only done one last month, and it turns out we've actually done January, February, and March. So we are actually kind of almost monthly, which is remarkable.
Every week.
If only I had the energy to do that. How are you tonight, Chris?
Yeah, I'm tickety-boo.
Yeah.
How are you, Jonathan?
Exhausted. I've been for a very long walk today on a fact-finding mission. You appear to have signed up to Majesty's privateers and are off on the high seas smuggling rum or something. So
hey, that's a good idea. I haven't thought of that. I tried everything.
Yeah, your microphone's breaking up a bit, Chris. By the way,
is it?
Yeah.
What's that?
I think you're going to have to get your earbuds.
That's a bit difficult. I haven't got any. Do you want me to speak up a bit?
Yeah, that'd be better. Yeah,
No.
That's fine. Right, we've got a few things to rattle through tonight. We've got Meter Meadows to talk about, which is our new initiative. We've got remind people and update them on the bird drawing competition and the grand prize. But I think we're going to kick off tonight with the thorny issue, and thorny in almost every sense of the phrase, the thorny issue of plastic tree guards. Now, we have been contacted by members of the public who have been concerned by the amount of plastic pollution being generated by plastic tree guards being used for tree planting at the moment, including people who unfortunately seem to think that somehow we're something to do with it. We are responsible. No, we're not. Nothing to do with it, unfortunately. So we've been aware of it ourselves. We have got onto the district council to say to them, that there are serious concerns. Chris, you've gone dark. What's happened there?
Hang on, I'm trying to find a shilling. There we go.
There we go. We've got on contact with the district council to highlight their concerns and our concerns over this. And I'll give you an example. Today, I headed up to Nightingale Rise, which is up here, just off of Nor Road, down towards the recycling yard. And what I saw up there were just bits of plastic everywhere, in the grass and in the hedgerow. Again, this just gives you an idea of just how widespread the problem is. Whole sections in some places, but for the most part, it's broken shards everywhere, including as I'm walking down, I think it's Weatherly Drive down towards the recycling centre, there were just shards and bits and pieces lying in the road as well. Now, I collected a couple of samples of it. The one thing that I wanted to check is whether these were breaking up because they weren't UV hardy. Now, these are actually quite, they're not shattering because of UV light. Has to be said, though, these are incredibly sharp. And I managed to jab myself in the backside today with these when I got back in the car, because I put them in my back pocket. And as I did so, it was like having a tetanus injection. So as you can imagine, all these shards of plastic, as you've seen in those photographs lying around, they do represent a bit of a risk to wildlife, to people, to dogs, to wildlife, you name it. It's not ideal, I think is the best way of putting it. Chris.
I think it. The thing is, it's really interesting, isn't it? Why? I mean, there's been lots of these schemes in the past, and indeed, I could take you, Jonathan, to a tree planting scheme, which I'm told is 25 years old, and most of the tree guards are still there. Can you believe that? And
yeah, I can.
They're embedded in the trees, and yet there's no complaint about them. So why are we getting the complaints now? And I think you're right. I've had people stop me and say, you need to sort those tree guards out. And I'm going, huh? Me? Huh? What? And I think the reason why, I think it's a really good thing, isn't it? If we're honest, that people have got all this press, all this media about how bad plastic is to be dumped, and they've gone, well, surely this isn't right. They started questioning it. Where in the past they never questioned it, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's a thing that we should say that's really good. As far as us being blamed for it, obviously we haven't planted any trees, so it's nothing to do with us. In terms of, I had a very interesting walk across the golf course with one of our councillors. It was very, very good, very interesting, and we looked at the situation. I reckon from the time that they were put in, there was quite a lot of heavy frosts. And there may have been some frost damage. Clearly, if people whack them, or if people stand on them, they break. Or if I'm told dogs will use them as toys, they break. So that you can say that's a problem in itself. But I think the real problem is having the plastic tree guards in the first place.
Yes, exactly.
So,
exactly.
so
and as you say, we're in a situation now where in the last, not even the last 5 years now, that the public's perception and its awareness towards plastic and plastic pollution, certainly, the blight of it was raised by, David Attenborough and Blue Planet and everything. So, people are now, it is a hot topic.
They're on board.
Absolutely. And of course, we do have community initiatives within Portishead of groups that now voluntarily go out and pick up and collect plastic from the beaches and from the reens and the hedgerows and everything. But as you say, the problem is how this stuff is ending up like this, how it's ending up broken and distributed across the landscape, is almost immaterial. The fact that it's there is the problem. And to me, speaking personally, there's a certain incompatibility between trying to do something which is to the benefit of the natural environment, while at the same time introducing an element which is clearly incredibly detrimental to the natural environment. And I've been told one of the reasons why tree guards are put in place in the first place is to actually protect them from deers and rabbits, stop them eating the saplings. And it's almost a case that if you wouldn't need to use the plastic tree guards if the wildlife wasn't eating the saplings. So what you're saying there is we could do it entirely naturally if it wasn't for that inconvenient wildlife.
Okay.
And that's
You're right. You're right. But let me cut in because again, part of the golf course walk, it was mentioned to me that because I said the ultimate question. I mean, I know why tree guards are put in, but I said why tree guards put in, and the answer was to stop the deer eating them. And I said, okay, let's have a challenge. Let's go and see if we can find. Now, deer will defecate everywhere that they're wandering around. They'll also browse, and so you'll find browse signs, and you'll find droppings. Simple as that. And did we find any? No. So, but the point is that on the golf course, can I just say that North Somerset Council did a brilliant thing. What they did was they allowed the grass to grow, proper rewilding. And they mowed lovely big wide paths so that people could still enjoy it. And I know that the butterflies exploded in there last year. No, not literally, but you know what I mean. They exploded by number and by diversity as well. It really, really worked a treat. Now, one of the other things that exploded in number was short-tail vole and the bank vole. And I found evidence of them everywhere. So the tree guards that they've put in are spiral ones. So the spiral, so they can unspiral, right? And there's a gap at the bottom. The voles live in the grass.
Mm-hmm.
The voles will absolutely go through those saplings like a dose of salts.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, the tree guards won't protect them from the voles.
No, no.
It wasn't thought about. And the voles can be a tremendous issue. And that's why, if you look at forestry planting, for example, now that's done in such a way that they must maximize growth, and they must maximize the amount of trees that they've got in. So we're talking there about farming trees, literally trees. And there they mitigate against the deer problem, which they will always get, and of course the vole problem, which they will always get, but they minimize it as much as possible. So if you've got rough grassland, and where you've got trees growing, there's always going to be a problem. Now, nature, Mother Nature, provides a protection for saplings that are growing. It's called bramble, other scrub trees like hawthorn, like blackthorn. And why does it protect? Well, it protects because what it does is, as the scrub grows, it blankets out that rough grassland, so the voles can't live in there anymore. The bank voles may be able to, but by then they're after other food that's actually on the bushes, things like that's coming out or leaf that's coming out. So the bank vole is a vole which can actually climb. The short-tailed vole doesn't. It stays on the ground. So therefore, still at the end of the day, the best way to have done this was the way that we proposed at the folk court. Yes, you're going to have some human tree planting, if you like, but that was going to be done in such a way that it was done by the public. The best way to get trees out there quick and to maximize the amount of growth and not have these terrific losses that you will get from planting in this way is to do it nature's way. And that means allow succession to take place. And I'm hoping you've got some maps there.
I have, but before we go to the maps, I've just suddenly remembered I had a picture on my phone that I forgot to put up. So I wasn't checking the football scores. I was actually trying to bring up a photograph. This is just further down from Nightingale Rise, and this is out on the fields up towards the other part of the quarry. And it is the amount of trees and saplings that are growing up there, which just have natural protection. Yep. Just things that are growing, to kind of use the old Jeff Goldblum thing from Jurassic Park. Nature finds a way. This is rewilding in action, and here are trees growing. Here is a potential forest in 100 years' time, a woodland, you name it. It's in the process of actually forming itself at the moment, and none of these appear to be bothered by, deer, rabbits, voles.
No.
Nature is slightly more robust than we give it credit for sometimes in situations like this. I
totally agree. I know that area very well indeed, and that area actually exploded last year in ringlet and marble white butterflies. It's a terrific area. It's actually sound a warning out now. It's a prime area for development as well, isn't it? But that's a topic for another.
Yeah, that's a topic for another time. I got to say, today when I was out and about there in the very nice sunshine, which was unexpected, did see a lot of clouded yellow butterflies. Yep. Well, yellow. I assume they're clouded yellow. They were
brimstones.
Oh, right, brimstones. Okay. Also, painted ladies as well, butterflies. Absolutely, loads and loads of them. So it appears the butterflies have turned up quite early this year.
Yeah,
which is good, so long as we don't have a cold snap, obviously.
But going back, there is one coming.
Yes.
Going back, then I think the thing is that we have been talking about this for a long time, and I think the one thing I don't want us to be labelled with is the fact that we are just moaners in the background, and slagging people off, and already we are being told that, or people are saying that's all we're doing. What we're not doing, what we're trying to do, is say there's a better way of doing this. And just say there's a cheaper way of doing this for the taxpayer.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really important. And that's going to hit home even more so as we come out of the pandemic, particularly with a lot more human problems that money's going to be needed to be thrown at, so to speak. We have an opportunity here to actually do something from the public level, delivering from the public all the way up and delivering something for the natural environment that will be extremely good for nature and at the same time incredibly beneficial for humans in so many ways. And I think we've got a one chance opportunity to do this, and I think if we foul it up probably for a long time to come.
Well, this is my concern, is that the amount of kind of public concern out there about all this plastic that's currently blowing around Portishead and is getting, is getting stuck in hedgerow, everywhere, is I am like yourself. I'm 100% behind tree planting, but if you are doing something as part of that tree planting, which is generating controversy and it's generating pushback from the public, you are losing the public, you see, and you only have to lose them once on something like this, that the next time you're trying to do something, for very noble ambitions and means, if you've lost the public, you've lost the public. And as like I say, we aren't, we were actually kind of getting it in the neck because people thought this was something we were doing. No, it's not. But we are, we are very keen to try and facilitate some kind of, some kind of dialogue or some kind of solution to this. Now, we'll come back to the dialogue part in a moment. But
can I cut? Can I cut? Because we're not only getting the hassle that people think we're doing it, but when we then go to report it, we don't get responded to.
We have. We'll come back to that a bit later. But
brilliant.
But let's talk about. If people say, well, what would you do then? Well, Chris, what would we do? Let's, for example, that we've got 3 areas here that we're going to look at. We have Nightingale Rise, we have the area on Avon Way, and we have the area around Battery Point. All 3 of them have something in common, and something which would provide a cheaper and a more natural solution. What is that, Chris?
Keep that picture there.
Yeah.
You can see the extent of the tree planting. I presume that's in brown, isn't it, there?
That's just me. I've just kind of roughly shown the area where the planting has taken place.
If you can remember at the time, there was an outpouring of anger that an open space Battery Point places was going to be lost to this tree planting scheme. Well, can people see my mouse? Is that live or not?
No, I can't see a mouse. No.
Okay.
Sorry.
Can we see your mouse?
You can't see my mouse either.
The last thing trees need is mice, but anyway, that's all right. Okay.
Or vowels.
Yeah. So if you look at where that brown splodge is, if you then go to the right of that, there's a woodland there called Eastwood. And Eastwood is already established. And if you walk along the edge of Eastwood there at Battery Point, you'll notice that the scrub and saplings are already trying to come out on their own. I reckon you could have had the same number of trees planted that are planted there now if you'd have just extended Eastwood out even a fraction of that. So all you do there is simply go, okay, we want more trees there, simply bring Eastwood out. And all you do is just just get the guys cutting the grass, not to cut the grass right up to the edge of Eastwood. You come up with something like, 10 meters, pluck it out of thin air and say, right, don't cut up to there. And if you've got that agreement in place, in 10, 15 years time, you've got the extension to Eastwood in place.
There we go. I managed to bring up Google Maps. So this is roughly, you can see my mouse now, can't you? This is roughly where the rewilding is going on. But as you say, you have, it's not just woodland, Chris, it's ancient woodland. This
is very good woodland. Yeah.
It goes back thousands of years, quite frankly. And you know, and as you say, if allowed to, it will naturally start creeping out.
Yeah.
It will want to spread itself outwards.
You wouldn't need to do it. They wouldn't need to do it that far to gain the same number of trees currently spread across Battery Point. So, and that would be totally efficient. And the other thing, can I just say that from an educative point of view, you could have local schools going out and nurseries, going out to study that succession taking place. A very rare thing to be able to study, natural succession, because we don't let it happen. I'm hoping with what I call real rewilding coming in, that there will be many more schemes where natural regen can take place. Are we going to Avon Way?
Yep. Yeah, same again. So here we have this little plot of green here.
Yep.
But yet again, it is surrounded by trees. It's surrounded by by woods, and yes, you could have allowed this to just naturally start creeping forward.
Yeah, I've seen that area recently. It's trying to creep out in any case, and if you don't manage the new planted trees, I'm hazarding a guess that the current vegetation there will just come in and take it all over in any case. So unless they go and mow between the trees, that parcel there, if you run your mouse along that edge there, you've got it perfectly. And the only thing I'd have done there is again allowed it to come out. And if you remember back to the folk call meeting, we had a lot of public support for that very idea, and the orchard, which is now in place.
The orchard is perfectly fine. Because the orchard is perfectly fine because it's down here, which there isn't that much to actually creep out and encroach. It's here where you've got that, this is where the activity is. This is where it wants to grow outwards from.
Yeah.
And if we just flick down to, this is like a guided tour of Portishead. This is how exciting.
I can't believe it.
Yeah. If we go to, it's all right. I've lost my bearings now. I've only lived here 45 years. I've lost my bearings.
You go to your original place you mentioned.
There we go, Weatherly Drive, and then we come down here, Nightingale Drive. Nightingale, there we go. So again, upstairs, let's just zoom out again. Nightingale Rise, which is this area here, which is where I was today with all the plastic shards and everything. Again, you have got a huge area of woodland here. And this woodland wants to carry on coming this way.
Yep, well, and it would do. One of the things that I've called for nationally is that we need to look at our woodlands, and we need to look at the way in which the footfall on our woodlands, so to speak. And you only have to look at Western Bigwood to understand that the number of people visiting the wood has gone up dramatically. And obviously it would do, because we're all channeling into those countryside areas, which is great. Don't get me wrong, it's brilliant. But what we need to do now is realize just how important those areas are. And if you just swing your map over towards Western Bigwood, give us a nice keep going down a bit. Down.
Right. I've run out of. I'm just there. We go.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's
Western Bigwood there.
Western Bigwood there. So if you come along the north side of Western Bigwood by Valley Road, what you simply do there is what we need to do is make that woodland more sustainable, so it's able to cope with the attraction of a population of, say, a fraction of 23,000 people walking through it, chewing plants. And the only way you'll make that sustainable is make it bigger. And the best way to make it bigger is to cordon off a part of that north side and just let it grow.
Yep, absolutely.
Let it do what it wants to do. That's the way the rest of the plots should have been looked at, I feel. And if you remember back to the folk call meeting, that is exactly what we laid down. And that to me would have been proper rewilding.
Of course, down here we've got a large area of wetland, which would be perfect for a wet wood. But we'll talk about that another time, I think. Because it's that's certainly another. And again, that's another area where we are. It's a positive thing that we're trying to introduce into the conversation, But
Absolutely.
in terms of what's going on at the moment with the plastic, all we can do is just express what other people are kind of expressing at the moment, which is a certain amount of unease about that kind of dichotomy between a rewilding program and suddenly the introduction of plastic waste, where plastic pollution wasn't existing before. We did contact North Somerset Council with regard to the concerns that were being passed on to us about the spirals, about the tree spirals. Their response was that the spirals will be necessarily around for 2 to 3 years, and then possibly be recycled at a later date. Of course, that's if they all survive during that period. The feeling was that that the damage was being caused by vandalism. With regard to the pollution side of things, we were told that North Somerset Council like to think that users of open spaces may assist by collecting any damaged or discarded spirals or return them to the trees. So, that's we tried to get some clarification on that point, but that was as far as the conversation went on that particular thing.
No comment.
I'm no comment either. I have an idea, which we'll talk about off air. But essentially, we are trying to facilitate a solution to this, and to try and bridge the gap so that you don't have something like this ends up alienating people, because essentially we're all trying to be on the same hymn sheet here, but it's everybody seems to be singing slightly different versions of the same song at the moment, which is a little bit frustrating. So
the song doesn't remain the same.
Yeah. So yeah, we're trying, everybody. We are trying, and please do continue sending in your photographs and your sightings of this, so that we can just continue to raise it as an issue. But we, as Chris,
we should also say to people that if we're not getting anywhere, then you make complaints yourselves as individuals, and make a complaint to your local councillor.
Yeah.
It's fine coming through to us, but at the end of the day, if we're not being able to get through the system, then you do it yourselves.
But we are also trying to facilitate plastic-free solutions as well. So
there are alternatives.
There are, as Spock said, always possibilities. So I thought you'd like that reference. You see. And a happy 90th birthday to William Shatner. Absolutely. Right, we will try and be a little bit less controversial for the closing few minutes of the show. As you will be aware, we have our Wild Portishead Meter Meadow scheme on the go now. And if you want to take part in that, all you have to do is head to our website, which I'm just desperately trying to bring up on screen here at the moment. Bear with me. We've got a resource pack there, which you can download, and it is there. There we go. There we go. That's our garden bird watch thing. Goodness me, we'll get it right in a minute. Let's head back. Meter Meadow. There we go. We have our Meter Meadow resource. There we go. Meter Meadow resource pack. And if you go there, you can download the pack, which consists of this rather splendid poster that you can display, but also a thing for our Young Ranger scheme as well, where you can log when you stop mowing your patch of meadow, your little meter meadow, what plants have come up, what creatures you spotted, and then fill that in and send that back to us. So it's there on the website. It's actually right there on the splash page. So when you go straight to our website, www.portishead.com, you can download it straight from there. And in fact, we do have some rather splendid photographs to show you of this is what a meter meadow looks like when it's in action. So it's just a square meter of unmown grass. And let's see what turns up, essentially.
It's early days. It's very exciting. I know several people that are doing it, and I think it's absolutely marvelous.
Yeah.
We've when we did our initial thing, we've even got people doing it in other villages as well, in other towns. So
yeah,
which is great. It's spreading far and wide. But we love lots and lots of people in Portishead to do it. And there was one really good. There was one really good bit on Hello Portishead, I think it was, or it may have been actually on our Facebook page, where somebody said that they didn't have a lawn, so they couldn't take part, but they wanted to take part, and somebody else came in and said, "Well, we'll have 2 meters in our garden, then one for you and one for us." Yes,
absolutely. But what you could also do is, if you can't do a square meter, and I know we've just been talking about plastic and whatnot, but if you can get hold of some large, if you haven't got a garden, but if you can get hold of some large planters, they can be plastic, they can be, metal, ceramic. It is what it is. You can always just put some wildflower seed in there. You can get them from, locally. You can get them from places like Home Bargains, Poundland. Create your own meadow in a pot.
Yep.
Because the butterflies and the bees and all the other insects, and to some extent the birds, they're not going to be worried that it's perhaps only this big. All they're going to see is all the goodness in there. And if people weren't able to do a meter meadow, but they were able to do a square foot pot, and say 100 people in Portishead were able to do a square foot tub, add that all together, and that makes up for collectively quite a nice area. So, this is the idea, is even if you can't do it, you can still contribute in other ways as well. And I think perhaps that's something we will look at is, for people who haven't got gardens, we will show how you can create literally a meadow in a pot, which is fantastic. Also, just a quick reminder that we still have, going up for grabs, our grand prize. This is the actual grand prize here, of some goodies here, some mealworms, suet, some feeders, and a robin nesting box. And you can win that by sending in your coloured in bird drawings, which are on our Facebook, on our website as well, which you can download from the Portishead Garden Birdwatch resource pack. Goodness me, Chris, that has been a packed show this evening.
Don't forget the Sparrow Project, and don't forget spring. And don't forget, if you're carrying out maintenance in your garden, you could now have birds breeding in the hedge.
I'm just gonna say this quickly. Coming back from my walk today, rather alarmingly, I'm seeing a lot of people having trees pollarded, or also taking down, or actually taking out hedgerow.
There's been a lot of tree removal. There was a lot of tree removal during the autumn locally. And that seems to have continued. Some of it has been ash dieback, but by no means all of it. So, and also the ivy removal as well. That seems to have carried on. I've got to be honest. The time we've called for climate emergency, and the great nature deficit that we've got on the planet at the moment, and the nature emergency, has kind of coincided with a pandemic, which has seen a lot of people staying at home and a lot of people wanting to do things. So we've had probably the biggest tidy up going on, and not just in the garden, but also if you just have a look around our parks. I mean, I was walking past Brampton Play Park the other day, and the hedge has been completely tidied up, and various trees are gone. Okay, it's a tidy up. The management needs to happen, but to me, it just seems like right at the time when we're talking about nature declining all over the planet, we seem to be tidying everything up. Amazing.
Nature doesn't work to a spreadsheet, which comes back to something we'll talk about perhaps in another show about the need to have more empathetic management rather than everything done on a rota to a spreadsheet. Just going to quickly, before we go tonight, Owen Jones says he's put up a list here rather of a website list here for eco tree guards, which are plastic-free, recyclable, and sustainable. So we're going to go and have a look at those afterwards, yes. Which is very interesting.
Those look very good. Devon Wildlife Trust are actually using those right at this very moment. So it'll be very interesting to see what they come back with on that. So yes, definitely give that a look. Who was that? Owen.
Yeah, and also Owen says that a small dead tree in Briary Road the other day was cut down. They were going to shred it and take away, but I persuaded the contractors to make a log pile there. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. So bit by bit, you know, people. This is what we're talking about. This is about people taking ownership of stuff rather. It going from the top up on the top down. And when you think about it, that's how nature works.
Definitely.
Unless you're mistletoe, obviously, but yeah, it's you know, when it comes to rewilding, look to nature because everything grows from the ground up. Nothing grows from the top down. So, on that, we're a bit controversial tonight, but then again, you know, you're a pirate. I think
you're wrong. I think you're wrong, Jonathan. I don't think it's been controversial at all. I think we've actually only reiterated things that we were talking about at the whole meeting. How can that be controversial? Just because then a big project starts that then goes in another direction, and we just say, hang on, you know, tree planting is great, but there's another way of doing this that will actually put people on board. I think what we're trying to do is have that, and we've said it, I think, in every single one of these shows, dialogue, conversation.
And also a course correction.
Yes, definitely.
A course correction. You're heading roughly in the right towards the right place, but you're just a little bit kind of veering off a bit at the moment. So anyway, just like to say thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. We will try and endeavour to do another show in April. That's if everybody's still talking to us by then. No, they will be. We'll make sure they are. So on that note,
I've run out of money.
He's run out of money. On that note, just to say thank you to everybody for tuning in tonight. We will hopefully see you in a month's time for another show. In the meantime, head to the website and download the Birdwatch pack and the Meter Meadow pack. Send us your photographs, keep in touch with us. And yeah, by all means, if you're still concerned about the plastic, continue getting in contact with us about the plastic. We will try our best to see what we can do. So until then, it's goodbye from myself.
And goodbye from him.
Goodbye from him, and we will see you for another live show very, very soon. So in the meantime, take care, get out there and enjoy some wildlife. See you then. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.